howdy, and hello, and happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday
How are you? Hi, Lawrence.
and love, exciting and new. I had a good Valentine's weekend. How about you, Heidi?
Yay! Yes, it's been really cute. Yeah, let's share. Well, I
What?
haven't really spent time with the giant. He's been finishing Spider-Man. He's been on night shoots. And
Oh,
yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, series, Nick Black and White with Nick Cage. And
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
he had a really good experience. So they wrapped the crane last night. So he didn't get home till 8 in the morning. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
How was yours?
It was good. We did it last night,
Good.
our Valentine's Day.
Ah,
And some sushi in Manhattan Beach, and it was just lovely.
good.
My girl and I, we have really good like parking karma, and we have good like seat karma, table karma, like they were kind of running behind with my reservation, and then to make up for that they gave us this amazing corner booth that probably could have fit 12 people, and it was just her and I.
Aw,
It's like
yeah.
corner spot. Shout out to Sushi Roku in Manhattan Beach. Good service.
Foo-foo.
Fair foo foo.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I
it
bet,
was
I
it
bet
was really
you're
good.
kind to them. You're good to them. You get good service. It's an energy
Well,
exchange.
I'll tell you what, and that goes a long way, Heidi, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's one of my hacks in life, and it's should just be standard default setting for all human beings, is being kind and acknowledging people. I'll tell you what, man, when I go to the Chipotle, did I ever tell you my Chipotle hack?
No.
So I
Yeah.
always do this at Chipotle is, you when you go up in there, because each person, they're think about these people. They got to sit there and they're just like putting the salsa on like their day becomes, it's very kind of repetitive.
Repetitive Monday.
And so my thing is just like, I'm already heaping them praise before they're even reaching for the scoop. I'm like, you are my favorite. Oh my God, you again. You're my favorite. Now they have to live up to the standard of being your favorite. It's like, well, now I'm his favorite. I don't want to blow that. So that guarantees you like an extra 20%.
Yes.
It's, what's up,
What's up,
Hey,
Chipotle?
come in. And it is
Oh,
amazing. Oh my God, I know we're never going to live that down, a blemish on our record. I think we got like a easy copyright strike.
yeah.
The ball that shall not be mentioned.
The ball that should not be mentioned.
So
But
that's the
I will.
thing.
I have to say though,
Yeah.
you're probably genuinely nice. You're not
No,
like
no,
I'm just
no,
going to
no.
be
Being
nice to him so I get
genuinely,
more scoops.
no,
You're
but
actually nice.
bring out your kindness, like show it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming you have some,
Yeah.
show it, because it does come back, and it comes back
Yeah.
because look, people that work these jobs, and I've worked these kind of jobs, it's like they're just used to just people treating them like they're not even there,
That they're not there.
and
Yeah.
so when you treat people in restaurants kindly and your servers kindly, you get better service, you get a better table.
It's
Life
respect.
works like that. We all need to be
Mhm.
that way for each other.
Yeah.
So
Balanced energy exchange.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
And
yes.
that was speaking of exchange. That's what we had even in the class. All those little kids, there wasn't one like store bought boxed card. Everything was homemade. A lot of love went into Valentine's. It was really sweet. It was a balanced energy exchange. It was
Yeah,
really kind of special. It was sweet. Yeah.
that's how it should be.
And
There's
I
a
did
law of
dote on the family.
reciprocity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking
Woo!
of
But
exchange, before we start this episode,
uh-huh. Oh, wait.
I get the
Yeah.
I get the little twirly windmill going. A one,
Uh-huh.
a two, a one, two, three. Why are you? How are you going the wrong
I
way?
know.
What
I
is
am.
that? Yes.
Oh,
I
I
think
see. I'm
I think
touching you.
no, you're
Is it?
not. Not to me.
Oh, it
Maybe
must
the
be
other one.
looped.
Something's crisscrossed. That, my friends, that's
That's
the magic of live streaming.
that's gonna be a clip. Hey,
So
I'm not booted off, so this is a plus. If I get booted off,
yeah,
stick around, Lawrence. I'll come back on my phone. I'm getting a new laptop. However, I think Garrel walked me through enough steps that I'm cleaned up for now, so it
okay,
shouldn't boot me off anymore. So
okay. But
just a
looks
heads
like we
up.
got some of the usual suspects watching.
Hi, Jane. How are you? It's so nice to see you, sweet cheeks. I love this Jane and Tanya. And I don't know. There's some numbers up there, but no one's talking. So tell us
Okay,
that you're
that's all good.
here. Come say howdy and yeah,
That's all
chime
good.
in.
That's all good. So we've
Share
had,
in
man,
it.
it has been a fast and furious year, in many, many ways. Last time we talked, what is it, 2 weeks ago, and we
Yeah.
missed a week. And we kind of pick up where we left off a bit. There's obviously a lot happening on the health front. government front, transparency, all of it. All of the things are happening.
Mhm.
Right now, it's kind of flooding the zone. It's just whack-a-mole with all the news stories and all of these things. But before we get into this, Heidi's always remember everybody is that don't wait for a government policy. Don't wait. We want these changes to happen and we want all these things to happen, but don't wait around.
Yes.
Still
Yes.
remind yourself that it actually starts with you. The bottom.
Thank you. Did you read my post today? I
I
kinda
did.
did my wake and, like, I'm channeling, I'm
I
zen
I
right
I
now,
I
and then I
must have picked
blasted
up
it.
the vibe. What was the
Yeah,
post?
well, and it's not getting any I'm fine with that. I just have to get my thoughts out, but it is very much like I'm watching, the trigger to people, and I've actually was asked recently, "How can you be so ignore all the stuff going on in the world right now?" And I'm like,
Mm,
"Interesting choice of words." And I go, "Well, 15 years ago, I felt severely ignored when I was looking into these things, and it was my sovereignty and my choices that
mhm.
made me, I had to lead my own way, but
Yeah,
I do find myself sovereign and free these days because of the steps I've taken. Now, it took leaders and it took people I look up to and mentors and guides that I would find every time I needed, but I made decisions for me and my children for put boundaries up, made medical decisions, all these choices that I curated our lifestyle so that in these current days we're already the way shore. We're already doing what people are afraid they're not ever going to be able to do. I'm like, don't
right,
worry. If I can
right.
get through it, if I can get through SB 277 and all those kinds of things, you can too. Hey
100%,
Elena. Yeah. So my
100%.
post wasn't even a vent in any way. It was just this reminder of like the phases and stages of awakening as well as community and leadership and how you take control yourself, your will, which is what we teach kids, the will that they have to do things.
Yeah.
Your will get you through. And how's your body, like how's your will? Is it bright? Fix it, like work on that, because that will help you get through anything
Work
at this
work
point.
on
Thanks,
work on
Elena.
yourself. Yeah, work on yourself. We're in a society that, because social media, we share and we want commonalities and points of common interest in what the public square is talking about. That's all good, but we're also have to be reminded that a lot of times we're just being dog walked around by whatever when I say they,
I know, so I
media,
was in quotes.
sort of like trying to pull focus on certain things. And
Yeah.
it is funny because if you don't mention something that someone else cares about, it's like, why don't you care about that? It's like, I do, but
I
maybe I'm not,
do.
maybe I'm not like posting about it as much, or
Right.
because I post about this doesn't mean, it's that
Right.
classic meme is like, you say something like, I like apples. And then what is the meme? It's like, well, what's wrong with oranges? And what do
I
I care?
know. I
Why
know.
don't you care about bananas? And it's
Yeah.
like, I do, but like
Yeah.
today I'm talking about apples.
Well,
Um,
if I want to get snarky about it or Scorpio about it, I've had some in other states go, "Aren't you concerned about your children's education and medical choice?" And I'm like, "Where were you the last 10 years?" I
yo,
go,
check the
"Yeah." I
script.
go, "Not only, but I'm paving the way of the new." That's the
Poor
bit
choice.
is
Yeah.
while this darkness may be surrounding some pals, new pals, or current pals that are just going through these things, I can safely say, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I've gone through it. Guess what? Here's another way to do things. And that
Yeah.
because someone did that to me. So we have to trust. Hi, Flix Love. Hi, Flix Love. Nice to
Yeah,
see you.
we
Yeah.
we do have to trust.
Yeah.
And this also goes to, because I want to touch on this, because
Yes.
education is obviously a big part of us, our world. I'm a huge proponent of homeschooling if you can do it. All of this, and I have been forever, 30 years. But what is also very, very telling is how triggered people get by something like, well, let's abolish the Department of Education. It's very interesting to watch how hypnotized people are over what things are called
Yes.
versus
Thank you.
actually
That
looking
was a
at
good way to word it.
what things do. It's like, oh my God, it's it's
Yeah.
it's like they could call a department as like they could
Oh,
shut it.
yeah.
Yeah,
She's just
it's
saying
like
it like it is.
they could be like called, it's the Department of Will Never Waste Your Money. And then you're like, don't get rid of that. They're called the Department of Will Never Waste Your Money. Don't get rid, like they lie to you.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before about like
Yeah.
Food Safety Act. You're like, this Creighton wants to get rid of the Food Safety Act. It's like, trust
Mhm.
me, read these things. Look at the actual reality of what these do. It's never about your safety. It's about the safety of the corporation. It's creating legal shields to protect them from liability. It has nothing to do with your safety.
Yeah.
And
A
the
lot of
Department of
money
Education
laundering exposure.
has done nothing, hasn't fulfilled any of its promises.
Not at all.
And
It's in fact, it's tanked. We're
one of the
lowest in yeah, we
yeah,
it should be
it's
apparent what
totally
it's
tanked.
failed.
And there are things, and trust me, we're going somewhere with this, but like there are things that people bring up that deserve attention and deserve a response. It's things like special needs, right? Because part of a chunk of that. But when you actually look, because I did a little research on this past week, because just trying to know what the hell I'm talking about, and it's like, they've failed on that promise as well. They had commitments to supply up to 40% of the funding for these things. They deliver on about 16%. I mean, it's like, okay, so fair enough. The compromise is chop the Department of Education out, create a standalone fund for special needs for a while, and then give a timeline to it, and tell the states, like, you guys got to get your house in order with your budget, and provide them an off-ramp, like 4 years, 5 years but you automatically can axe 90%, 80, 90% of the bureaucracy in the Department of Education. It's like people think that something's called something, that it's just, if you get rid of something that's called the Department of Education, the idea of education is going to
It's like
evaporate.
it yeah.
And I can't get educated now. It's like, dude, if you have an internet connection
You're gonna get if you have a
and
town or a
an
family.
attention span, you can
If you
and
have a heartbeat, you can be educated.
homeschool children crush public school. That's just the truth.
I have to say, and this is my PSA. We are co-creating what it looks like to build the high school because we have nothing in LA of choices when it comes to bringing children together in the physical, not just online. We are co-creating a new path for homeschoolers to meet in the physical. Yeah, so it's very exciting
And
times actually.
this is the funny thing, is the same crowd, and we've talked about this before, this idea of monopoly, all about rallying against monopolies, right? Except one of the biggest monopolies, public schools and government, those are monopolies. But yet, they get disconnect.
Yeah.
Choice is never a bad
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And you
You
hear these
see
stories that go back.
you see
Yeah.
your books.
We hear these stories that go back years of, like, a mom is trying to do right by her kid, and she's driving her child across town to another school to get them a better education where there's, better teachers, whatever. And then they get slapped with a fine or
Mhm.
put in jail for a year. These are real stories out there. And it's like, for the crime of what?
I
For
know,
the
to
crime
get a
of
better yeah.
trying. So
And
while we're
then
talking about
yeah.
crime,
Well, before we get flick
yes.
slap, I see what you're saying. Is that a vepri too? Yes, exactly. But the print books, we do have to be mindful. What did you notice? What's happening with this Department of Ed for the last decade plus? They're ushering in books that really are not appropriate, age appropriate, child developmentally appropriate. So yeah, I would get rid of some of the books actually. Let's stop printing some of them.
Yeah,
It is gross
yeah.
in certain places. Hi, Tanya, and how are you? Go ahead. So crimes, Lawrence, hit
Well,
us. What did you find?
I would say I want to get down to just the bare bones of the rules for thee, not for me kind of
I love
idea. So
that
Heidi, we can
saying.
pull this up. I gotta
I
share
mean,
just simple. I was telling Heidi, I was like, let's just introduce this very simple concept of the rules they have to follow versus the rules that they're asking us to follow. And once you kind
mhm,
of understand this, your whole worldview, I think, starts to come into focus. So the
yeah.
US Constitution, right? 4,543 words, and that includes signatures. Okay. And that's the original Constitution as it was written. Now, if you include all 27 amendments, you get a grand total of 7,591 words. There's 7,591 words that we are asking government, we the people, right, to follow, to adhere to. Now, on our end, here's what they're asking of us. U.S. federal laws citizens must follow. The U.S. federal laws citizens must follow span millions of words. Okay, U.S. code contains over 22 million words, and federal regulations exceeds 100 million words. And then you have state laws that adds millions more words, right?
Blah, blah, blah,
Millions and
blah, blah.
millions and millions, right? Hundreds of millions of words. So that drop the mic. Okay, we can close share on that and
Okay.
riff on this. No, it's like that's where we're at.
Yes, books. Yes, that's
Yeah,
where we're at. She
it,
she gets it all.
you
Hi,
know,
Carol. Nice to see you. That is where we're at, right? Like, I
yeah,
love that when you say rules for thee, not for me, though.
and
I've been
it's
countering
like
that a lot
all we
lately.
are saying. It's 4-page, 5-page documents. Like, guys,
Hmm.
and on our side, it is like, oh, you get slapped here, slapped there, regulated there, and again, the business of politics is what can I do for you?
Hmm.
So it means what can I add on to this? What can we pass? Most politicians pat themselves on the back for I got through the blah 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 bill and the that law, and we were able to introduce, and it's always just more and more and more. It's very unpopular to be like, let's get rid of things, and
Hmm.
that's what we're seeing now.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
just seeing this insane
Yeah, and
gnashing of teeth.
disinfo. There's that Tesla car thing. But I took the time to peek, at others. I've curated my feeds that I'm very much surrounded by like minds, and that is not part of the two-party system. And I
No,
just
and
see what's the opposing argument, and then I'm like, wow, it's all information war because they legit have their own information, but it can be countered in seconds by the reality. It's really interesting. Go ahead, though, sir.
it's extremely
Mhm.
interesting, and to the point of the right
Good
left
one, Felix.
paradigm that we've all had to kind of this false choice, magician's choice that we've all been pulled into. When you actually study what people's interests are, where their beliefs lie, and you just test them um, based on these scores, vast majority of people land in libertarianism. That's just the fact. That's actually where they land. However, the Libertarian Party as a movement
Uh-huh.
doesn't get much traction because
Right.
by nature they're like trying to not do things. they,
Yeah.
you know, they're not in the business of waving a goodie bag in front of us and telling us what they can promise. They're kind of telling us sort of the opposite. But
Mhm.
that really is actually addressing our self-interest, but we've been hoodwinked into this idea that it must be right or left and not just simply like actually going to our core beliefs. Of most
Mhm.
people just want their personal choice left to themselves and leave my money alone,
Mhm.
leave my
It's a
body
big
alone,
one.
leave my money alone.
The money thing's a big one right
That's kind
now.
of what right.
Yeah.
And the reason this all affects us, it's like health, it all trickles down to that. And not in the trickle down economics way, guys. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the domino effect of these things where, it does impact our choices at the grocery store and these things. And, there are, there's incompetence, and then there's also just nefarious activity happening. And that's just the truth.
Mhm.
When we see these things, we unfortunately, where power has been centralized, it's like this is where these are where these things happen. Because when you think of federal, companies like Monsanto, they get their power through the federal government.
Mhm.
So because instead of having to go to 50 different states and get 50, they could just get sweeping legislation on their behalf. That's what the game is.
Mhm.
It's all
Mm.
centralized,
Mhm.
in Washington, D.C. So I think it's all in our best interest to realize that the function of the government is not to continue to increase and expand control over us and add more millions of words of laws, when we should just be holding the government to account to the limited, number of words that they're asked to follow.
Yeah,
I
like,
was
"Just
I was
follow this
reviewing
outline."
the egg price
Like,
thing, right? So to go
yeah,
to the
yeah.
health thing, it's like, well, guys, I mean, we got the receipts for the
Mhm.
last, like a ruler who is measuring. Oh, that's so
I love
perfect.
that. That was a
These
good one.
last few years, we've had factory farms burning
Mm.
down
Mhm.
left and right, millions of chickens, millions. And then some chickens break out with illness and they're just culling millions of chickens.
Mhm.
And this is all happening. And in the same time, over the last 10 years, companies that are there to sell you lab grown meat, lab grown chicken meat, and fake eggs and all these things. And then you look at the money behind there and you go, same old people, same usual suspects. So
The
these
same
are
bad
why
apples pumping out the storylines, yeah.
these are
Mm.
why some of these things actually do matter, because
You're so sweet, Carol. Thank you. He's
the
hitting them
the
all up.
when it comes down to actual land grabs and actual agriculture, that is a fight worth fighting. It sucks to
Yeah.
even be involved in these political battles, but when it comes down to farmland and when it comes down to who is buying up the farmland and how is it being used and what's being leveraged on that, and this is super important stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Now, to the point, I wanted to just do one more little share that
Uh-huh.
piggybacks off of what I spoke about last chat that we had. Okay.
Okay.
If we have this one up, I haven't shown you this one yet,
Okay,
Heidi.
let me see. I want to.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that claim dead birds flying is possible. Come on.
What is
That is
this?
pretty
Dead
funny.
birds flying?
Someone
Is that
claimed
like
dead
dead
birds
man walking?
flying. Yeah.
Dead birds flying?
Oh, don't worry about that dead bird. He's fine. He's just flying.
Um,
That's awesome.
so
Is
on
this
the
the share?
screen
The
here,
same
this is
share? Hmm.
yeah. So USDS. So because I want to drive this home to kind of put a bow on this whole idea of executive power,
Good.
legalities, and
Hmm.
fighting fire with fire and the double-edged sword of government. Now, given the rant that I just went on, I am not for the expansion of executive power in the least. But what we have seen, and as I spoke about last time we talked, Heidi,
Hmm.
is when this executive power is expanding under presidents that you agree with and that administrations that you agree with, everybody loves that. And I've cautioned before, I've said this for years, be careful because it's just going to get turned right back around on you and then you're not going to like it.
Mm.
And the amount of kicking and screaming is very telling as far as who is got their hand in the cookie jar. And just for review, because this is the sort of legality of what's happening and the constitutionality. And again, legality doesn't always mean ethical. We know that. But
Mm.
from the constitutional side and where it's at, and I would love to see all this stuff go away. But this is an
Mhm.
Obamacare thing. So let's get into it. USDS.
Trigger
Okay.
word.
So if we go back, USDS actually was an Obamacare office, and that was created to make government software better. It was essentially a software development for the federal bureaucracy. So this was established to improve government digital services, including collaborations with agencies like the Treasury
Hmm.
to enhance the digital infrastructure. And this set a precedent, very important, for interagency tech initiatives. Okay. So what Trump did, he renamed the US Digital Service, USDS, to the
Hmm.
United States Doge Service. And it was kind of clever because it kept the acronym the same. But the Secretary of Treasury has broad administrative authority over those operations of that department, including payment systems. And that authority is actually derived from a statutory provision, Title 31 of the U.S. Code, and that outlines the roles, responsibilities of the Treasury Department. And the secretary has the authority to delegate access to department systems for operational oversight. So not only did repurposing an appropriate existing department allow Trump to ensure there was funding for Doge without having to fight with Congress, he also ensured its legality. And I'd be happy to share that in the chat later with everybody, and you can all look that up. So you can close
Yes.
that share.
Okay.
So my thoughts on
Hi,
this are
Chili.
that
Sorry. Hmm.
when you want to, the term "dems the rules," dems the rules. It's like when you want to sort of, create a new rule, create a new game, and play that on the American people. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when the next guy comes along and uses the same sword that you were cutting people with against you. I
Yes.
mean, that's just what we're seeing. That's
That's
what's happening. That's the reality of what's happening, and people don't like it. Presidents have always had advisors. They've always been able to delegate things. But when it's someone rich, when it's someone famous, it
then
gets
they're like,
pissed off. It gets
and
people pissed off.
and yes, and Carol, I'm right there with you. The gold. Who's checked in on that gold? I
That's
think
the
the
latest
last
one they're
time they
looking for.
checked was 74 or something when I was born. I didn't take it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be very
it's
interesting.
gonna
Now,
be
what
it's
happened to
been so
that, and why do we go off the gold standard, and all of these things? Um, it's it's going to get really, my hot take, and I'm going to say this for the recording, is I believe that all of these slings and arrows that are coming their way with the courts and judges and all these insane judicial plays that they're making, I think that what's going to end up happening is all going to get balled up, go to the Supreme Court. Uh, I think it's all going to get shot down, and I think that there will be a Supreme Court ruling that will clarify executive power. Um, all that being said, it should all be scaled back, but this is what we've seen the last 25 years, and this all goes back to Patriot Act stuff and all kinds of stuff that just sets gnarly precedents.
Mhm, mhm.
So
I'm
rolling back again, it's like if you go into a system and you say, okay, now I want to like undo this, it's going to get messy and ugly, but it's like it needs to go.
It needs to go. It's gonna be messy, harder, messy before it gets better. Although I think some of us have seen enough to know we're going in the right direction, which
Well, the
which
money,
triggers some people. But
the money
I
that
think
has
it'll.
been flying out the door forever, and you know, I think the big one that came out right out the gate was the USAID, which everybody, you know, it's not has nothing to do with aid. It's,
I
you know,
know it's
United
so
States
misinterpreted, so
international
much misinfo.
development, started by
Mhm.
JFK for probably I'd say around, if you give in the time, early 60s, it was really a need for us to have what was called soft power. Like we do bring humanitarian aid, but we need some agents and intelligence on the ground to kind of know what's going on. This is the 1960s, right? You really needed field agents and different things for, you know, just to kind of know what was happening in these countries. But then that obviously Kennedy got smoked.
Mhm.
CIA really kind of took over that organization, and under the auspices of goodwill and humanitarian aid, we really just were sent out to foreign lands to destabilize these countries. So, you know, basically soft occupations, prop up dictators, pay people off, and all of this money that gets ushered out, it's for insane stuff. I mean, you guys have probably already seen it on social media. The stuff that we're funding is just absolute
It's
nonsense.
insane. Hi, Daryl, by the way. He's got to go
Hey,
eat.
Daryl.
Hi, Daryl. Oh yeah. What is it like? Instead of yeah, I couldn't even get into it. Ooh, even the
Stash the money.
EPA
Yeah,
stashed money before
is
new
it
admin
Lee
came in. Oh
Zeldin,
yeah.
the new EPA director, has pointed that out. They
Hmm.
were doing a kind of a mad dash right before they were leaving the last administration to just send in money, and it's messy. And the
It's
fact,
messy.
what's really disturbing to me is that the fact that the attention is on like, oh, stop doing this, rather than like, oh,
Yeah. Oh, you
okay,
were doing this? Yeah.
can we help?
Yeah.
It's like, can we help find the fraud or the
Yeah. Yeah.
waste?
Yeah.
Or and there's
That's
almost
the
like
programming. That's the thick programming.
totally tuning
Yeah.
out the fact that there's smoking gun evidence staring you right in the face. Is like the cognitive dissonance is wild. It's like right
Hmm.
there looking at you, and you're just, no, it's not.
Yes. It's like TDS all over again, but for
It,
our
it's it,
rights and where our money's going, which we have a right
it's
to know.
insane.
I mean, any nonprofit, right? Aren't you supposed to show the books and stuff? Like, I know we're a corporation.
Well, I've worked, and this is the thing, is they can't. They can't tell me anything about this world because I know how this works. And believe me, if I was a person of less integrity, I could have got on that gravy train with all the nonprofit work that I've been involved in. And it is true, is when you see some of these organizations that get set up, and you know the salaries that they give themselves and their buddies, $400,000 here, $200,000 salary for this, and where's the money all going? You know, to help, whether it's charitable organizations or what are called, and, you know, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and the money just gets laundered around, and it's
And
you
lost,
can
and
and
not going to the hands that is
lost or not
intended.
going to where it's supposed to go, and nobody should
Yeah.
be happy with that. Yes, they have a lot of questions to answer. Like they need an audit, right? You know, instead of having all of these hiring 88,000 new field agents to go after us. I love that the IRS, by the way, is THEIRS, which means theirs.
Oh, yeah. When you put it
The
together.
money's
Yeah.
theirs. Uh,
Intentions are more important and beliefs. Yes, I see that. We
yes,
need, but I think that's setting us, that's the golden age setup, right? It's putting money in motion for organizations and humanitarian causes and truly ones, not
transparency.
ones that they say in commercials
Look,
and then it goes elsewhere, but actual
transparency.
full transparency. If you want full disclosure, you need full transparency and an even energy exchange. And I think this is the big setup for it. And sure, people spiral out, but again, this isn't the time for people to say, I told you so. Or, I know
No,
people are pulling up the old drops and everything, 17 drops and things. And I get that. I go, people don't want to hear that this was in their face. They want to mourn
right.
and, they need someone to be like, don't worry, it'll be okay. And, or, yeah, doesn't that suck?
Yeah, it's not. It shouldn't be about trying to dunk on
And
what you
that's
would
not,
call
you
the
don't need
other
to fight
side.
about it. Yeah, we don't need to fight about it.
It's really about saying, like, trying to pull them into the fold, which is really what's happened, especially over the last 4 years. More and more people are just sort of waking up to what's really going on, and it's like it's less about party and more like a common sense, like, okay, we should all be aligned. And that's where we were in a lot of ways, during Occupy Wall Street. There's a real history to it, because during that time, you saw populist movements on left and right. You saw the Bernie Bros. I mean, you have to pay attention to what the people are saying they want, whether you might want that or not. Right.
Right.
So whether you agree with that, you do have to smell where wind is blowing, where people's impulses are. And you had the
Sure.
Bernie Bros and the Tea Party members who were fundamentally like left and right, but at the same time, both of their eyes were on a common enemy, which was the corporatists, the crony capitalists, Wall Street. And when that was happening during Occupy Wall Street, what you immediately saw in the media, and this has been well documented, is release of all of these stories, these divisive stories that had to do with race and
Divisive.
gender,
You
and
said
a
operative
divisive
word.
topic.
Yes.
And they've studied this, and it's shocking, like the amount of articles and headlines and news stories, newscasts that focused in on racial divides and different things that we were already solving as a people.
Yeah. The division of people. You keep the people fighting. That's the
Keep the people
manufactured civil
fighting,
war.
now their eyes off the ball, and it
Yeah.
was business as usual.
Yeah.
This is
But yet,
very well documented, by the way, guys.
yes,
For
yes.
any
But
deep
you also have
divers
to
out there.
follow the money. You have to follow the money, right? So you can be champion behind some movement, but which any good movement that's making traction for the betterment of humanity, I feel got infiltrated. So you have to follow that money. Who's funding this
And
beautiful
words
movement?
have
Where did
power.
everybody get those signs?
If you call your movement "We're the awesome, nice people,"
Take my
I mean,
money.
what a better place for the movement, "We're the awesome, nice people," for all the evil people. That's how evil works, guys. It's not
Yeah.
like, it doesn't show up like, I'm evil. It shows up like the nice, benevolent. That's just what it is. It's Trojan
In all
horse.
communities. In all
It's Trojan
communities.
horse. By
Yes.
calling yourself, and this is what bills do. They name it something. There was one that was years ago. It was like the anti-lynching, right? They
Yeah.
called it this. And so then
Oh,
when like Rand Paul like voted against it, they could just go, he's for lynching people. And you're like, no,
yeah.
your stupid bill was flooded with pork and all this other crap. And then you just called your bill the thing so that you knew that the public would get a certain fuzzy feeling about it. And then when somebody actually reads the bill and says, no, this is bullshit, this is what's happening. It's a game of
Yeah.
language and words and how they
And
cast
civil
spells
war.
upon people.
Spell casting. Well, we didn't get to talk last week because you were at a Super Bowl party. So, what do you think about the halftime? Because there's sides going racial division, or we'll tell them we're going to stomp on Trump. And I'm just watching, going,
You,
that
you know
looked
what,
like a
man?
lot of. That was it was a beautiful rise up, in my opinion. I don't
I
know.
you know what
UNITY.
I kind of am a person that can hold a lot of thoughts at once, kind of person. I look at stuff and I'm like, it's very difficult to ever know motivation. So I always try to not ascribe motivation. I'm trying to kind of suss out, and I can glean at it. But I love Kendrick Lamar, right? I'm a fan of Kendrick Lamar, right? And
I
so
shuffle all over the house like that now.
I just am, all right?
I am
Full
newly am.
disclosure. So like, so for me, and I was reading the different takes, and then one take would be this way. Then I'm
Yeah.
watching the video. I'm like, oh, now I see it. And then I read
Yes.
something else. Oh,
It
now I see
always,
it.
it all, yeah. Yeah.
You can see, um, the same bit of information, and if you strap on, a different set of goggles for each one, you can see it through a different lens and go, well, that means this and that means that. It's subjective. I think Kendrick is a true artist, and as far as like this, what it means, and people argue about a lot of stuff that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
kind of surface level, where it's sort of like, we need more country
I
music.
know there's no
Like,
one's ever going to
I
be
don't
fully
know, like,
satisfied. They're bringing in tarot now, bringing in, I mean, there's a lot of symbolism and everything. I think it was telling that our president was there, and everything's always pre-approved before it makes broadcast. It just is. It's been rehearsed time and time again.
yeah,
They know exactly what they're doing. But as a mom, I know my mom granola community jammed the heck out of it because there was no tits falling out. There was no this
right.
going, it was the whole family could
I
get
thought it was
involved.
visually super
It
cool.
was visually cool, the choreography divine, and unity. I mean, I think it was excellent for the entire time to be just enjoying, I don't know, a poem. And the nod to so many things that we try to call attention to.
Yeah.
But as you said, it depends on the color glasses you're wearing and your
Yeah.
perspective.
I mean, if
So
you're familiar, for the hip hop heads out there, I'd consider myself one,
that's
but if you're
you.
familiar with the beef with what's going on with Drake and you're familiar with some of that stuff, then those are rabbit holes that might lean into new things. I mean, a lot of people
My
don't know
gosh,
some
the
of the
Drake.
backstories and subtext to that, and so that
Yeah, they
might get
don't.
you thinking in a different direction about
I
what was going
know.
on out there.
I to be honest, and before I ask another health question, the Drake
Yeah.
thing is so funny because all I think of is the '90s and Degrassi Junior High. That's Drake. That's feels,
Jimmy
man.
in the wheelchair.
Yes, was shot.
Jimmy got a
So,
shot.
I anyway, he makes me laugh anyway. But they're all the truth. Year of transparency. And some of the moms in our little group last night, we had this jazz show, eighth graders, okay, 13, 14-year-olds put on jazz. I swear I could have closed my eyes. I would have been in any amazing jazz hall in downtown Chicago.
Wow.
I was crying. I'm like, we are so fortunate. Like these children are just blooming. Anyway, there was
I
really
love it.
healthy, fun conversations after. And it's, we're feeling that year of the snake and this like doo-doo, but snakes shed their skin. And we're
Mhm.
just going to keep, and here we are just holding our babies, going through all this, navigating, and we're craving transparency, no matter how painful it is. You need
Yeah.
full transparency. And so many peeps are aware of it. I love being in those mom communities because honestly, we're there for the betterment of our children. So that's our commonality. We're not
Yeah.
going to all reside on the same when it comes to even geopolitical stuff, even health stuff. I had 3 kinds of mac and cheese last night, Lawrence. That's why I'm drinking my booch. And then other moms are like, I can't, it's dairy. Like we're not common in some things, but we are common in fiercely protecting our children. And I tell you, I am optimistic. I do not
I am
see
too, because
the cards
here's
falling
here's
so bad.
here's the way I always see things is that once certain ideas are let out of the gate and they capture, they capture the attention of the globe, it's hard to jam them back into the bottle. And the idea of transparency, whatever you think of what's going on or not, the fact is that people now know that you could just do things. Like meaning like we could like we could just do things. We could look at things. Like the public is starting to realize, like, wait a minute, like why can't we? Like, why aren't there better ways to track our money? Why did $100 billion go to dead people for like we see this, we can't unsee a lot of this. So
Mhm.
regardless of what ends up happening with this administration or that, the idea is become so much bigger that we cannot unsee this, and that will raise the standard and the stakes for what our new level of transparency is going to need to be.
Mhm.
And we will tolerate no less.
Mhm.
That we kind of know that now. It breaks open the seal, this kind of feeling, because Heidi, our whole lives, hasn't it always felt? I'm going to ask you if you feel the same way, but the way I've felt is like government always feels like this thing just can't get nothing really. There's nothing really happen. Like it's just always kind of like,
It's a lot of false hope. Mhm. Yeah.
and
Hamster wheel. Yeah, yeah.
you just nothing. Have you just never seen anything like this where it's at least like somebody going, "This fucking bull in the china shop."
Yeah.
Sorry, but just break this shit. Like I don't know, start
Well, saying what they're
opening
gonna do, and then they
and
do it,
short of
and then
doing
it's
it.
done. It's like they say they do it, and they're done.
It's very bold.
Closure. Yes, very
It's
bold.
bold,
And
and
it's what I think everybody realized now, comparing to what we've had, we realize that's what's been missing for decades, for a long time.
yeah, and it's looking, and there's and but on the realities of it is like, yeah, there's going to be pain, there's going to be transition, there's going to be shifting of people now that work for, like, that's just what it's going to be, and
Yeah.
that sucks. But the other
Well,
way, there's a raw math to it that the other way is untenable, and it's complete collapse of the country.
there's a few
So
predictions that way, but we'll see where this goes and this goes. I have to give a major shout out to all the people who, were sensing things years ago and have curated and made their own little chicken farms and egg farms because
yeah,
you still have the ability to get good eggs. Because there's a great meme going around saying, are we going to be painting potatoes for Easter instead of eggs? Because
right.
it's just so ridiculous right now. But that's what I'm talking about. People have been ahead of this curve for a minute. We just have to find our way through this collapse and restructuring of the systems. Because it's about
De-
damn time, truthfully.
Decentralization, the more you can break up centralization of power, because when this whole idea of why is globalism, it's always been sold as this good thing, like everybody coming together, but what people don't realize is centralizing power creates a place that if there is ill intent in the world and evil in the world, it's going to find its way into that centralized power group. So the more you can break these things up into nodes and decentralized power,
Mm-hmm.
the better.
Mm-hmm.
You have people then have those choices. They're not locked into something that is kind of all controlled by one big blob. And and it's like that across domains. If you look at like anything that's sort of in the private market that's sold to us, technology especially, it gets better. It gets better and cheaper. But if you actually look at things that the government controls, it gets worse and more expensive. And it kind of
Yeah,
freezes
doesn't.
in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's government controlled schools or hospitals, city hospitals. You go to any major city, you go to like a veterans, it's dismal and scary. I used to date someone who worked in the VA system and was involved in money and bookkeeping, and it was a big scandal, and they couldn't find billions of dollars. I mean, I had some firsthand looks at this stuff, and these are our veterans.
I know. It's so good.
And so
Yeah.
when you start to see that, and you start to see like, because they're not competing, there's no quality, like you're not trying to beat a competitor. You're just the only game in town. So you can give
Yeah.
any shit product you want. Shit
Yeah.
school, shit
Shit
roads,
school.
shit whatever.
Oh, which picture you missing, Tanyan? And I do love this, Flix. This is why I do these conversations. Because I've known Lawrence like 30 years. Appreciate the calm clarity Lawrence
Thanks,
has.
Flicks.
He's also been like, was it Hal? He's like, it's this computer that's like up information guy to me. But you do give your delivery is so beautiful. So thank you, Lawrence, for having such clarity, calm clarity around everything. So that was beautifully said. Thank you, Flix.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Flicks.
Yeah. With health concern, are we feeling, well, the long-term goal, I guess, is healthy soil and getting all
Mhm.
those systems
It's
of
gonna
health
start
back into
there.
play. Sovereignty is a really big one, I think, because people need to really make medical choices for themselves. Um,
I
but
think we're gonna
well, we have
see
transparency with cures. How about
I
that?
think what we're going to see is we're gonna see an age of where we're actually gonna show regenerative farming can work on a
Woo.
large scale. Like these ideas that like we can't do it that way because I think it's gonna be disproven that regenerative agriculture can absolutely succeed on a large scale. That's gonna take this is gonna be a decades thing, guys. I mean, this is not something, it can't be fixed overnight because it wasn't destroyed overnight. Soil, healthy soil, topsoil is a big concern. The overuse of land for monocrops, commodity crops, farm subsidies, a lot of that stuff's got to get fixed. You have to fix it there because that's at the root, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mean, you say you are what you eat, but you are what you eat eats. And what you eat eats is what it right. This goes
The
down to the
soil.
soil level when we
Mm-hmm.
understand dirt and the skin of the earth and soil agriculture. So it's
And
a lot of
water.
that's going to start
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Water, clean water, like basic stuff. What I like about the lens that RFK Jr. sees the world through the lens of an old school environmentalist, right? Which is very different than the climate change crowd. Those two things get conflated, but old school environmentalism, keep waterways clean, keep soil healthy. Those are things that rivers being polluted. I think there's going to be some tug of war with the regulation stuff. Um, the 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 forever chemical thing I'm going to be following closely, again, holding them accountable for that. Zeldin said, they rolled back a Biden era regulation that was kind of going into final process that had to do with keeping a tight regulation on forever chemicals. Zeldin said he's committed to it and doing it state to state where they're going to actually finish up cleanup projects that have been sitting forever. Like we've had a lot of supposed cleanup projects that's just never gone anywhere. So I'm excited to see if that happens, because if that starts happening, then that's a good sign. Look for that. Like if we start to see and hear news of cleanup efforts that have to do with these forever chemicals,
Mhm.
then I'm feeling that I'm gonna trust where the wind goes, because that's a big
Oh,
thing.
nice.
If they don't,
Good,
if
good
that's
call
not,
out.
if the agricultural stuff is not really, really tangible that we can see is happening, then I'm gonna be a little like sketched out, because that was the thing that, back in the day, 2008, when Obama ran, and he ran on this campaign of agriculture and labeling GMOs. I mean, he made promises, and then he immediately put, one of the Monsanto characters in charge.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I'm out. That's obviously not going to work. And it
Yep.
didn't.
Yep.
Nothing happened. There was no
Mhm.
transparency. None of it. So those are things to look for. I think there's going to be a lot more light shed on some of the science that we haven't been able to see as a public. I think we're going to have a lot more front-facing a lot of the information that the tinfoil hat types have been passing around for years, published studies. I think a lot of that stuff's going to be framed in a new way under a new health secretary. And
Mhm.
I think that a lot of proper studies are going to be finally done about certain treatments.
Mhm. Mhm.
Proper, proper,
I
some
love all these.
very
You don't have to clip the hell out of this. This is going to stand the test of time
some
here.
above the target stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be looking for these kind of things that will instill some trust and confidence. There's got to be some trust built. So
Yes.
far, so good, but
First and
everything's wait and
foremost.
see.
Yeah.
And if I
Uh,
sense that the wind is blowing in a bad direction, I'm going to be the first to call it out.
yeah. But so far, you've been pretty on point.
I've been pretty on point.
Tanya, and I hear what you're saying. Being grounded in my town, it's like weird, and everyone appears hostile. I know exactly how you feel. Maybe that means you're the way shower. You're the stepping up, and you're the one to
Where are you at?
amplify.
Is it
Yeah. Can you
Tanya?
share where you're at
Or you
and
don't
see
have
if
to like dox yourself, but generally,
yeah,
like what part of the country?
what part of the country or which country, and we can figure out how to find you some community, but also giving you the support to be brave to hold your own thoughts and beliefs. So, because maybe someone out there is looking for someone just like you. I
Right.
don't know. Our body is the land, Flicks Love. Absolutely. Hi,
Mhm.
Bigfoot Dwarf. I see you
Yeah, I
there.
believe that.
Cheers to you, sweet cheeks.
I
Oh,
believe that.
Tanya, it's like a
Bigfoot dwarf.
tornado that circulates round and round. The hostility for sure. There's some people a little unhinged, but also there's a lot of buried stuff coming out for peeps.
There
Happy
is.
day when the chemtrails stop. Oh, Jane, we're in a complete whiteout. What's it like down there, Lawrence? I
Oh,
took a picture of just ding, 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 all
yeah.
over,
Yeah,
all
it's
over.
today seemed okay. I mean, I went out, I wasn't looking too hard, honestly, but
Hmm.
it's been bad.
Yeah. It's funny, I had a memory bump from my old house. This was probably 3 years ago or maybe 4 now, that I was just gave this little live care share, but you could see I looked drugged, and I go, "It's the skies. I've been drugged." And it's just me talking about what I'm feeling like. It was lethargic like lithium, and I was just sharing a little care share, and then memory
Have you heard
bump.
that recording came
Have I
out?
heard?
The
Ooh,
recording that came out of that woman that confronted one of the pilots?
no.
I'll find it for you and send it to you.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
pretty juicy.
Kindred's
Anyway, sorry.
nice. Okay.
It's a
Well, it was just timely because then I walked outside and saw it again, but this time I like armored up and I'm like, okay, I don't feel the effects today, but that particular day I felt, and it was just a general, because I went out doing crafty shopping and everyone was like robots walking around. I'm like, fuck, they got us. So yes, I'm with you, Jane. Good gosh. Bigfoot dwarf, he calls them sky farts.
We'll be also
Hello.
looking on the lookout for new, new scams. There,
Yeah.
Manhattan walk-in clinic in Manhattan. A couple Ebola
Oh.
people
Oh.
arrived, and oddly
Oh
enough, it's like the
boy.
news
We're doing that
crews
one
there, and
again.
there's a guy
Mhm.
like putting a hazmat suit on outside the front of the building, and I'm like, guys, that's not how that works. You don't. If you
Oh.
get a call to where there's a possible situation where a hazmat suit is needed, you show up with the suit on. You don't like it. Just looked like theater to me. It was like,
It
why is
probably
the guy
was.
there on the sidewalk in front, and then the dude's being interviewed? It just seemed very scammy whammy. But South Florida,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, Tanya, so many pals I know, conscious awake pals are in Florida, especially mid to south. And my family too. I have family over there. So, if you want to DM or send a connection, I can at least share some groups with you, people that they get together often. There's gatherings and conferences and hangouts in the summer. You'll find your tribe. I really feel it. Florida seems that it's been a haven for a lot of people to get to in that sense. Bigfoot Dwarf, I have to see yours. I haven't caught up with your shows and your channels. He's going like daily. Took video
Took
doing
the
the
video.
X's and the it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Justin, thank you. Hey, there's another Florida friend. Hi, Justin.
Hey,
How are you?
Justin.
And Flix Love here. What was your take? I know we're probably winding down here, but what's your
Yeah, the FDA radiation and ELFs, Europe's gameplay many levels. Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
in
and I
Europe
actually
too,
have some of
everywhere,
the
yeah.
somebody ran some samples of that fog.
Okay.
It's pretty weird. Kind of I mean, some bacteria that show up that's fairly ubiquitous, but in concentrations that are a little iffy.
Okay.
Um, it was certainly different when all that heavy quote unquote fog was rolling. It was everywhere in
Yeah.
pockets around the country, and it wasn't lifting in midday the way it should have. It wasn't fog. Whatever that was not
Yeah.
fog.
We
So
got kicked into some things around that time. Yeah, I guess that's a whole nother little episode there. Oh,
yeah.
I don't know if you mean the crypty lady to keep from actions ever. You just made triggered, but Big Dwarf, I don't know if you're still in here, but and Lawrence, did you hear about the dude that climbed up the Hollywood sign? He
No,
climbed to
like
the top
recent?
of it. Yeah, like just to yesterday or
No.
day before, he had like a crypto flag or something. He was
Oh,
waving or
Jesus.
something. I sent it to the giant right away because he's loving all that
We need
stuff.
more of that stuff. That's kind of old school rowdy stuff that I remember growing up.
Yeah.
Remember how you remember
Yes.
we had the because speaking of Spider-Man, remember
Oh
the
yeah.
dude that would dress up like Spider-Man? He would climb to like John Hancock building in the Sears Tower in Chicago. Do you
Yes.
remember that guy? Dude,
Jeez.
those
And
are the
not the
days,
French
man.
guy. It wasn't the French guy
No,
either. It
no,
was
but
some
this dude had
random
like
rogue dude.
suction cup things, and he was like going up the side of like the
Yes.
John Hancock Sears
Isn't
Tower or
that
whatever.
yes,
That's
that's
some old school.
crazy.
I like stuff like that.
Yeah, Big Ford, he's seen that
I like
waving a
people that
flag. There's
do rowdy shit like that.
oh, Tanya,
Um,
there's groups down there out of their minds. I bet. It's generational too, I think. Well, I know I can't say that. I don't know.
what's what's
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
it's so important, like when you're talking about the hostility and stuff. It's like from that you can get a sense of kind of what the other side is thinking, and if you, so as a thought exercise that's hard to do, but kind of worth it for your own sanity is like actually try to see the world the way they're seeing it, and there's a reason for that. Is that kind of they say keep your enemies close, right? Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Is like understand that mentality, um, take it on, and it kind of equips you to formulate counter arguments that can diffuse those things in situations. Like understand it is what I'm saying. I mean, it's like it doesn't mean agree at all.
Mhm.
But to try to understand it, I've found that served me well, because when I'm in conversations or back and forth online with somebody, I can actually start with, so what you're saying is that correct?
Aw.
Right. So
Yeah,
by
you taught us
doing that,
that in Kids Health series.
steel manning it,
Mhm.
the idea is the reverse of a straw man, because then you set that point of agreement. So they said, yes, let me, yes, exactly. Well, you're doing it perfect. And then from there, if that's the case, then blah, blah, blah. And then you can offer something. Usually, no, well, people don't concede defeat ever online. Like that's just usually not a thing. I'm very rare that somebody actually says that. But what does happen is in the quiet of the night at home on their own, the wheels begin to turn, and over time, so we're influencing the discussion little by little, whether it looks like it or not. And I think that people being emotional and tribal and all these things, the conversation continues to expand, where common sense things start to take hold, and then the more of us that actually just sit and listen and don't act hostile, and don't talk to our fellow human beings in a certain way, we are taking the high road in a sense, and opening the door up as an open hand to those who want to
Mhm.
join, instead of this kind of like barricade and gatekeeping that might
Yes.
occur.
I was annoyed even during 45s and 17s when everyone's like, told you so, or, things like that. I'm like, we just like circling back to the beginning of our conversation, a balanced energy exchange. That is
Mhm.
the way communication will come across clear. And Flicks Love, you hit it on the head here. Did you see this? I crushed enemies against my boobies so close. Is that
Sure.
what you
Sounds like a great way to die.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
man.
That's
But
awesome.
remember to go
Yeah.
back to the initial point on the rules for thee, not for me. Take that message home, guys. Of pull up your Constitution online, take a look,
Yeah.
and
And
understand that
yeah,
like
and if you're
that's all we're asking.
And if you're just joining at the very beginning, Lauren shared how many words and how in the Constitution there versus how many words that are
Yeah,
expected for the public to
it's back
understand and
up if
know.
you want to
Okay, yeah, just
share it
just for
one
the
more
for the
time.
replay crew, and we'll
Take a
circle.
screen grab of that.
That's just awesome.
Take your screen grab it on your phone, crop it, share it.
It's my new cover photo.
um, yeah, I mean, look,
Honestly, yeah, yeah. I'm.
it's staring you right in the face that
Mhm.
it.
And with our talking holistic health and all these
Yep,
things, and we've been talking almost geopolitical governmental things, but it is
right.
all related.
It absolutely isn't.
They've been
Yeah,
yeah, they've been trying to take control of how we do things medically and whatnot. That I think this is the time that the sovereign civilian of free will rises. There's your screenshot.
100%. It actually absolutely is relevant because it's going to go into again agriculture,
Peaceful
um,
penguin.
advancements
Mm-hmm.
in real preventive type of modalities for healthcare. The other things that are actually that really matter, or it's nobody reads anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it. Peaceful.
so yeah, to the point of like when it impacts actual soil, when it impacts actual earth, when it's impacting actual food, it does actually matter because to those of you out there that want to make good choices, but you're like hamstrung by the fact that, and look, in all the work that I did with Operation Turnip for all those years and visiting states, going to West Virginia where there was both food swamps and food deserts. Food swamps are kind of these areas that it's all kind of convenience, ultra processed food in a close proximity. They call those like food swamps. Food
Mm,
deserts are where there's kind of like not much of anything, so to speak, where they have to
mm-hmm,
kind of travel to just get proper food. These scenarios are bleak,
mm,
so they matter. And it's pretty depressing when you go to these places, and you are teaching the best you can choices and doing that, and you're able to show them that they can still kind of make it work.
mm-hmm.
But we should have a situation where our society has more choice across the board with just about everything.
Yeah.
When is that ever a bad thing to
Choice.
allow people to choose? There's a great clip that I watched. It was a Milton Friedman clip where it was in a discussion about public school.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was bragging. He said, well, public schools, we are requiring, in whatever state he was in, we're requiring all students learn a foreign language. And Milton's reply was, well, how is that serving the public? Maybe some children wish to study other things. Maybe some parents wish for their children to have choices to put their attention onto other activities, right? And so it's like because what it is you're outsourcing. You're saying, what's better for me than I know what's for me. And that's an important principle,
Mm-hmm.
is that when the government tries to say, we know what's good for you, you don't. You
Mm-hmm.
actually don't. And the irony of we're requiring a foreign language for everybody. The irony is that same camp, if you dare suggest that people maybe learn English when you come to the United States, you are called a Nazi
I
for the
know.
suggestion of it. On the other hand, they're going to require something of your kid,
Mm.
requiring, mandating, forcing. Where does that end? It's going to be very careful because you might agree with it, but someone else might not. And when the next guy in has that power of mandate, how are they going to use that power on you?
Mm-hmm.
We should always be cautious. Choice.
Choices.
Choice is never a
Hashtag.
bad thing. Choice.
How hashtag. Exactly, peaceful penguin. How do they know what's in their best interest? And
They
shout out to the mama
you
bears, mama
don't. You
parents,
absolutely don't.
to the way shores like you, Lawrence, with Rainbow Chefs Academy and Kids Get Healthy and Operation Tone Up and all these things are trying to do just to educate children, even who just for they can learn the foundation of making choices that are good for them, choices that are healthy for them.
Absolutely.
Sovereign civilian
Absolutely.
of free will. Well, here's the year of transparency and the shedding of an old
Transparency
skin.
and shedding the skin, year of the snake, all the good stuff. Be good to your fellow human. Take a sober look at these things. Ask yourself questions that might be uncomfortable. Do all the things.
Do all the things.
That's a part of being an empowered, healthy person. Is
Yay.
taking it upon yourself and not waiting for some bureaucrat to decide your fate. You'll be
Mm.
waiting forever. It never works.
Mm.
Where's
Well
Bo?
said. I know. He barked for a
I'm like,
second.
wait, I'm like,
He's
he's
not
late.
here, but
Usually he's showing up at around 57, 58 minutes. I'm like, dude, he left us. We usually
but did
take
you
the
hear
show up.
he barked at like 58 minutes?
Oh, he
He
did.
wa-
Okay,
yeah.
he gave it. Okay, so he gave a 2-minute warning. Cool.
Awesome.
We'll
Thank
wrap it
you
up.
guys for showing up to play today. I really appreciate it. Especially we shifted our time a little bit. So thank you still for being here.
Mhm.
And teach the children truth and to know discernment early. Amen, Miss Jane. Absolutely.
Amen.
Yes. Thank you. So thank you. That was a perfect way to close. Yeah, and to the replay crew, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hello to X. We're over there now. I had to succumb to the check. However, I missed streaming over there. It's been quite some time. So hello to the X peeps. The less these busybody government types know about what I'm doing, the better. Absolutely, Henry Nelson.
100%. 100%.
Authentic from authentiz. One
I love
athlete
these. I
on
love these
one's own
closing
authority.
closing
I know.
comments. These are great.
I want to make sure they get seen and heard.
Let them
Yes.
roll.
Thank you. Well, Lawrence, my sister's coming tomorrow, but she leaves next Sunday at 6 a.m. So if you're available next Sunday night, I'm around at any time works for you. And would
Yeah.
love to chat again and catch up. And
Let's do it.
yeah.
Let's
And
do it.
our optimism, our hopium, our bow is sovereignty, choices, free will, putting
100%.
your system, your beliefs, putting you first. Stop waiting for somebody else. Yeah. Bye, Tanya. Thanks for chiming in today. All right,
Thank you
folks.
so much, Tanya.
Thank you, guys. And Lawrence, thank you very much.
Thanks, Heidi.
I'll see you again. Bye, everybody. We'll smell you later.
Peace.
Be your best self.